Welcome to episode 2 of the Heart of the Shaman podcast. I am Pavan here with my co host, Betty G, who is also a great friend, mentor, and teacher. We are really excited to be connecting with you all today. We have some cool things that we're going to touch on that came up in our last episode. And there was a feeling that it was mission critical in a sense to discuss the different dimensions, particularly the fifth dimension, and then ultimately why we want to raise our frequency, what that means, of course, and why that's important.
Morning, everybody. Nice to be here with Pavan. I wanted to just take a moment and have a shout out to the people. Our hearts are breaking for the people in North
Yes.
Carolina. I just know so many people that have gone through so much, and I just wish them all well. Wish them strength and resolve to get through this. And we have to send as much help as we can energetically, and if you can, financially. There's different places that are giving information, the Salvation Army, and just anything that we don't need that we can donate will help immensely. So let's not forget that that could be us. So we'll
Absolutely.
think about and be grateful for everything that we do have and our safety.
Yes. As some of you may know, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. Betty's now in California, but she was here not very long ago. And so this is something that has really hit close to home. And part of what I would say is positive is I am seeing here in the local community people really rallying and helping in Asheville in many different ways. There's lots of ways to donate. It's easy to find some credible sources, and we can even leave some of those in the link and the comments. But like Betty said, this really can be a situation in some way, anywhere at any time. So just connecting to a space of love and gratitude and sending the energy of prayer out to all those who need it right now.
Exactly. Just the energy and the prayers and all of that really does make a difference. We'll never know the magnitude of the effects that this is going to be a long time before they recover and come back to any kind of normal. And we take that for granted in our lives every day, that everything that we have and do is going to continue, just like it does every other day. And I'm sure a lot of those people felt that way that day. They
Yes.
thought it was just going to be a storm, and so just be grateful for everything, be in an attitude of gratitude right now.
Yes, gratitude is one of the highest vibrations, which we'll touch on a little bit more a little later on. But also, as Betty said, we really know the power of prayer, and there's even great scientific evidence at this point in terms of how that can shift things in the collective, and that releasing the outcome of not needing to know what that looks like, the results of the energy of prayer and the intention looks like, but just knowing that is really helping to uplift things can be really important. So, um, so we'll shift a little bit and touch on some of the different dimensions. This was something that came up in the last episode in reference to some of the symptoms that the physical body may be having as we're in this transitional process. And actually, this time right now, and this may be, I think we touched on a little bit, but even the time of year, we're in the season of fall, we're in a transitional season. We've got a lot going on in the world, politically and otherwise, and certainly with the environment as well. And so, everyone is navigating these things in the collective in their own way. And we're going to speak about these symptoms a little bit more, but also just starting with, what the heck is the fifth dimension, and what are the other dimensions, which Betty will speak on a little bit. And, how is this relevant to why we're here now, what we're doing, particularly as healers and people who signed up to be on the planet at this time. So I just have Actually, Betty, if you want to talk about some of the different dimensions, and then we can segue a little bit more into grounding into the definition of the fifth dimension.
Well, we always, we're talking about the fifth dimension is kind of in the forefront because that's been what we need to focus on right at this moment. But I thought that some people might want to know kind of what about the fourth dimension and how
Yes.
it started. So in the first dimension, um, the planet was formed. These are vibrations. This is in when there was nothingness, I guess you would say. Creator gave us the planet. And in that particular sense, if you think of it in a dimensional way and not a physical way, that was the first thing that manifested out of the desire of the creator. So the first dimension was the planet, the things that are on it, the minerals and the plants and some insects and animal forms were in that particular creation. And then the second dimension, I guess you'd have to say that if you understand about Atlantis and Lemuria, those civilizations were formed, and there was a lot of technology and a lot of things that transpired during those times that we're kind of discovering now as we go back through history. We're looking and trying to anchor ourselves to how those civilizations began and how they ended. But in the second dimension, humans came along. In the third dimension, it was the Atlanteans and the Lemurians. And then for the fourth dimension, that's kind of a bridge to the fifth dimension. The fourth dimension was us fine tuning our energies, or um, like an attunement, and learning about emotions and how to navigate in a physical world, in a human incarnation, in a body. So fine tuning those emotions and how they affect the physical body, that was kind of a spiritual, if you will, like that's the essence of it, was a spiritual evolution. And that fourth dimension has bridged us into the fifth. And so we have to be more prepared spiritually to ascend or to evolve to that level. So even though that's complex and you could read on it if you want to research it, but it just to give you kind of a thumbnail sketch of it, so that we didn't just appear one day and say we're going to jump like an elevator, go floor to floor. And these dimensions are more vibrational and it's energy. So it's getting into the frequency that we need to be in, and everything has to be in alignment. So
Yes.
these different dimensions are where we stay for 5,000 years or different cycles. They're various numbers of years, and we're completing a cycle now. And that's why the fifth dimension is kind of there in our face. We're ready to explore this. So it's really complex, but it's simple but complex, I guess you'd have to say. It's simple to talk about, but it's complex to really grasp because we live in the third dimension. We our reality is polarity and duality and all of the things that are more dense in the third dimension. So thinking about elevating ourselves, just going to think about that and it'll happen. It takes a process, and those are the things that we're going to talk about and why we're feeling the impact on our bodies. Everything is feeling it. The planet is doing it too. So the earth is evolving and ascending, and this is a shift that it has gone through before. It's done this it's cyclic, so every 26,000 years or so, these things happen. So the earth has to balance too. And that you see how skewed the ecology is, how out of whack it is. And you think, how did this get like this? It took a long time, and a lot of things that we did as a civilization to destroy the ecology. So we need to be part of repairing that.
Yeah.
And in one way, people are afraid of wars and nuclear threats and things like that. And in the truth, um, as I know it, or as I believe it, it's the ecology that's going to destroy our planet. It's not
Mhm.
balancing what nature has already perfected. So we need to get that back in balance. And I have more fear about that. The ecology has to be addressed, and the
Yes.
scientists are working on that now. So
I think an important connection with that too is, the earth and what's going on with the planet and in our exterior world is a reflection of our interior world. And I know this is something that I come back to often, but we're going to go through some of these high vibrational things that you can do. And part of what the intention for that is, it's like we're cleaning up our internal world and we're making space and we're getting into a place where we have more space to hold more and we have a wider threshold for things. And so we see that, it's the planet, the physical body of the planet has a lot of parallels and similarities to what goes on with our own physical bodies. And so that
goes
can
back
be
to the
important.
shamanic thing that you talk about, and we hear this a lot, as within, so without.
Yes.
And so when
Yes.
we address these things inside us and we balance and align ourselves individually, that affects the outside. And that's just a basic shamanic principle. And like when they say as above, so below, same
Right.
principle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this was pretty clear in what you were saying, but it is interesting because I either thought this at some point or I wasn't totally clear on the fact that it's not like we're, blinking from one dimension to another. There's this intersection. So in talking about our bodies and the planet, that is more third dimensional. As I understand it, if we were to have this intention of taking the body to the fifth dimension, it's not possible because of the density of the body, but that's not the intention. It's more that our consciousness and our spirit, our soul, our energy has already transitioned into the fifth dimension. And so that's the piece where all of us who are here now on the planet, that is true for us. But there is a growing pains process, so to speak, where we these practices that are healthy and good for the physical body allow the density of the body to hold what they say is the crystalline structure of the fifth dimension in our being. So I think of that almost as like this beautiful constellation sort of blueprint of our energy that's sitting within the physical body and is also extended outwards from the physical body, if that makes sense. And before it was more carbon based. So again, it's like we're just on this continuous path of growth. So that when it was more fourth dimensional or in other spaces, what the body, I'll say, needed to hold was not the same. So this is what is not just compelling us, but that is where the mission critical piece comes in for me a little bit. And I can speak to that personally. These practices are things where without them, you can just feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm so tired. I don't know why. And, I'm getting all these symptoms. I have headaches or a brain fog, or just it could really be a whole list of things. And that's where, it becomes necessary to do some fine tuning so that our physical body is comfortable with this. I guess you could say more elevated, crystalline structure of our soul, our spirit, and the
The carbon
direction we're going.
excuse me, the
Yes.
carbon-based DNA vibrates in a lower density. So
Yes.
possible, it's like taking an old car and trying to put new engines in it, or try to upgrade it. It's like you have to grow with it. You have to, a little bit at a time. And I kind of liken it to when you're in the old cars we used to have, or old radios, they had a dial that you turn, and as you turn it, you hear that you're coming to the next station, but you hear static, and it'll crackle and it's just not clear. And then all of a sudden you get to a certain frequency on that bandwidth that you're using to try to tune in that station, and it's clear. you know. But up until that point, there's static, there's this crackling noise, and it's just not, oh, it's horrible. And then maybe scrambled, and then all of a sudden it's crystal clear. And the crystal clear, using the terminology of the crystalline DNA. So that ride for our physical body is not as quick as a radio station, but in essence, you're looking at it as frequency and energy and tuning in, the attunement or tuning in. So it might take a little while, and you might have static, which would be these symptoms, you know. So like I said, it's not like an elevator where you're going from one dimension to the next in a
Yes.
floor by floor thing. This is like a bandwidth of energetic imprints, and you have to go through each one and align yourself with it. So each of these things that we're going to talk about facilitate that process. It makes it easier for the body to understand what we're expecting of it. And the truth, I think, is that most people are not connected mind and body. They're not connected with their spiritual
Yes.
and their physical. They see them as separate. And that's a very important connection, that you bring your spirit down into your body. And I think that's just one of the primary things about meditation. That's what
Mm.
meditation does. And that's one of the
Yes.
things we should do, is to calm our minds and bring that energy down into the body so it's integrated.
So this is a really good place to start with some of that. That's just resonating with me so much, because I feel like we all should be meditating like our life depends on it, based on some of this. And that piece of bringing the spirit down into the body, I'm going to kind of say the old way, but when we were in a different frequency and things were denser, it might have felt more comfortable to have more energy in the space of the head, or there might be less awareness of the disconnection between the spirit and the physical body. But now I know that I've noticed for myself, and people listening maybe can resonate with this or speak to this as well. But when I'm doing something that is out of alignment, or I don't have these practices to like bring the spirit in and be in this more integrated holistic space, the difference there is much more stark than it used to be. So if it used to be the case that I had a full day, and instead of starting with like eating and hydrating the way that I should, I like got a bacon, egg, and cheese. I don't eat bacon, an egg and cheese or whatever. It's fine if you do, but I'm just thinking this takes me all the way back till childhood. Like rush, I get an egg sandwich and I'm eating that, and then I go on to the next thing. I mean, there was a time where, while it might not be ideal, the frequency I was in, I might notice it a little bit, but it wouldn't be as stark. Now there is such a starkness to something that I intuitively know is not the thing that is going to resonate at a high vibration in the moment, that it would be very rare for me to make that choice. And I don't want to get into, good or bad choices and make it sound like that. But there's just a knowing that, okay, this is going to have a real domino effect so quickly that I'm going to be like scraping
It's
myself
like
off the
you're
floor.
paying for your choice. If you eat it and you think, oh, I can do this, then you have this series of things that you go through afterward to reconcile everything back to your body and say, I'm sorry I did that, and I should have eaten something healthy or gone without, and just hydrate it
Yes.
and then get something healthy in my body.
Yes.
So then when you're paying the price, you just kind of want to look the other way. You say, yes, I did that, but I don't want to hear about it. I don't want my
Mm.
brain to tell me, or my spirit to tell me, my higher self to tell me,
Mhm.
bad choice. You just think you can cheat, and you think you can,
Right.
keep your vibration high, when in fact you can't. You have
Right.
to make the right choice. And that's the discipline that goes back to not so much devotion. You don't have to be fanatical. You can be devoted to a lifestyle, but this is about surviving. This is about moving into this dimension with grace and with knowledge. We can use everything that we learn and make good choices, and not have to pay that price or spend all that time with headaches and digestive disorders and all of the things that this will ultimately cause. It's just one choice or the other, and
Hmm.
so you discipline yourself to say, I don't want to spend the time that it takes to get back to normal, to my normal, you know,
Yes.
make these choices. And it's not easy for people to change or for people to believe this kind of stuff. I understand that.
Hmm.
But if you do it, you can see, you can physically see, just the facts are there, the way that you look, the way that you feel, the energy that you have or don't have, it's all a result. And you're not going to go back and think, oh, that's because of that egg McMuffin that I had or whatever. You know,
Right.
I feel bad today. I don't know what's wrong. You're not going to accept responsibility. Like you said, this is a mission critical thing that each of us accepts, that we have to stay in a high vibration to keep the collective in that place.
Yes. And right, being in a space of awareness so that, like you're saying, the pendulum swings, right? So there could be that tendency, okay, I made that choice. I don't want to maybe acknowledge it, but having this balance of, okay, we don't need to like beat ourselves up for anything, but simply being in a space of awareness around, okay, what's the next intuitive action? What's the next intuitive choice? Like you were saying, okay, hydrate, make some other decisions that are going to balance the energy and just move on from it.
Right.
But I think the discipline piece is important, and it's something that I know clients can get a little bit like freaked out about, and understandably, because like you were saying, it's hard to make changes. But I don't want to overemphasize it in terms of it being connected to the mission critical, but I do feel that if we're here and we've made the decision to be on the planet now, we have, yes, a responsibility to like our own personal journeys and the details of what that looks like, but we also have a responsibility in the collective. So ultimately, the discipline translates to that as within, so without, as above, so below, in the sense of the more I am in this disciplined energy that's connected to the expansion of things, the more I am creating this ripple effect in the collective human consciousness, which potentially opens up more possibilities than the ones that, have like fear attached or are a little bit darker, or like you were saying, the ecology of the planet and, some of these things. All of our decisions in every moment are connected to everything in our exterior environment. So hopefully we have a tipping point of our good decisions, or this higher
I think
vibration
it's like
energy.
when you have a child, as a parent, you think about, before you create a child, you might discipline yourself and have healthy habits, to create a good physical body for your child. But then when they're here, their energy and their existence depends solely on you and your decisions. So
Mm,
what fascinates me is that people will spend a lot of time and money and energy creating a diet for their child and buying products that they feel are the healthiest for their development while they're creating their body and growing. But we don't do that for ourselves. We
right.
our child or our animals these diets, and we find out what's the best for this creature or what's the best for this child. And yet we'll go through the fast food and put that in our body, when in
Hmm.
essence we should be thinking of what we should eat and how we should teach our children to eat healthier choices, and why, so that they grow up knowing that those are choices that they're making, and what we would say would be self-love that starts
Yes.
with you. And it doesn't have to come from your parents making you eat that or telling you to eat that or telling you why it's good for you, and then you see them do something that's not good for them. So,
And
go ahead.
Yeah, if it's challenging, the first thing I would say is get support. So, depending on the scenario or the thing that we're talking about, in this case, the food choices,
Mhm.
if it is something that you're finding challenging to make a shift from, it's totally understandable. So, that first step would be to get support around the thing to help you make the changes. No man is an island, right? We often just feel like I've got to do this on my own, or why can't I do it? Or I didn't do it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. And then when it doesn't happen tomorrow, we feel guilty. But there's a reality in a lot of these things of like the programming of our subconscious and other things that are going on that are connected to why something is happening or not happening. So I think support can be really critical.
Well, eating, I mean, we're kind of touching on that as one of the things to raise your vibration is, to um, eat locally, not to have food that's shipped in from other countries or other states or whatever. If you can support the local farmers, and I think there's a saying that I've seen that says, eat locally, think globally. This is like buy the things at the farmer's market and buy the things that are in season and buy the things that you grow yourself, or, eat the things that you grow yourself, buy the seeds and plant them in your garden, and you know what you put on them and in them. And then when you're putting that in your body, you know the origin of it, you know where it comes from and how it's cared for. The number of people that handle it, somebody brings it, somebody grows it, somebody, has to harvest it. There's so many hands that touch our food. If you just buy things that are close to home and you focus on fresh fruits and vegetables and things that have the energy of the sun in them, and the sun holds the energy of the fifth dimension. So
Yes.
that's one of the major things we want to put sun drenched foods in our body. And I mean, that's kind of one of the things that we would have gotten to eventually on the list of things that we do to raise our vibration.
Right. So these, I would say, are the first two that we're covering is what we eat, food and water, and then all.
And the water, too, I wanted to mention a lot
Yes.
of people drink tap water, um, which, I mean, there is a controversial subject, but fluoride, when my daughter was young, they tried to give me fluoride drops to put in her. It's a vitamin, with fluoride in it. And I refused to give that to her. I had a sense that that was not healthy for her. And
Yes.
in finding out many, many years later that fluoride destroys our pineal gland, and the pineal gland is directly related to our intuition, our third eye. So when you think about it, is why would they not want us, to uh, be intuitive or to think for ourselves and to figure things out inside us, what's good for us and what's not. And if you destroy your thinking intuitively, then you follow what is put in front of you, what is advertised, and what is sold to you in the food market. So the toothpaste has fluoride in it, the water has fluoride in it. And if you look, pure water, just drinking water is one thing, but really hydrating your body is a different story. You have to think about the water, the purity of it, how it's processed, if it's spring water, if it's distilled water, and put what is the best for your body in it. And also the storage of it, in plastic with freezing and temperatures, and thinking about that. And people should put some thought into researching where their source of their water. It's just imperative not to drink fluoridated water.
Yes.
So
Um,
terrible.
yeah. I mean, the water in itself, I feel this is such a rich topic. It could be a whole podcast episode.
Yeah.
But and so there could be possibility for that there, but in this context, yes, they're just coming out, as far as I can tell, with some things now that are admitting and saying, oh, there might be some health issues with fluoride or in the water. But this has been, as Betty mentioned, going on for years and years, that it's been touted as something that we could have in our systems. And
Yeah.
so going back to meditation also being one of these things to do regularly to raise your vibration, when your pineal gland is not calcified, there is much more opportunity there for sort of where we will journey and what the capacity is for our meditations when we're clear. And it's not as though if you have some measure of fluoride in your system, there isn't any way to counteract that or to get back. But I think, yes, making sure that it's not in the water. And then also, water can be a very empowering tool in terms of raising vibration, because it does take on our intention. And then we're also mostly made up of water, right? So,
90% of our bodies and our
yeah,
cells are water. And you can bless the water, in
yes,
Reiki, bless the water. And Emoto, wrote about this. The water has a memory and you can program the water. So when you take a glass to drink it, put good thoughts into it. Just put your hands over it and bless the water and program it and ask for it to nourish your body, to hydrate your body, and to hold on to the positive energy that's around you and not just take a drink and not think about it. You consciously program the water and then the cells benefit from that. So I think it's important to consciously drink, you know.
yeah, and that's something we can do every day with our food and our water, getting into an intentional place.
Right.
Not eating and drinking when we're rushing around, but taking our time. And as we set the intention, it becomes a prayer and a ritual. And there's also a piece of this to share around when guilt comes up in relation to other people who are suffering, or just acknowledging that rather than thinking, oh, I can, take a shower and this person can't, or I can have this, great meal and drink this water and this person can't. Getting into a place where we are doing it for all of humanity. It's this prayerful ritual, and there's so much gratitude to be eating the food that you're eating and to be drinking the water that you're drinking, and just really sending it out as a prayer to all, that the vibration that that gives to you then moves out into the collective.
Well,
I
and the
think
food
that can be
that you eat
really,
that has water in it, if you think about all of the
yes,
foods that are full of water, like celery and lettuce and things that when you eat that, it gives you a fluid. So the more things that we grow, the more things that we choose that have water in them, that are in the sun, that are grown in the sun, and choosing those things that adds another level of, hydration to your body. You don't just have to drink fluids, to hydrate yourself. And keeping, like you can see, and this hurricane, the flooding and everything, in one hand you see the devastation and the power of water and what damage it can do, and moving rail cars and trucks and knocking out bridges that were built by engineers that think they're going to be there forever, that, and yet there are people standing on the shores of those devastation scenes and they have no water.
right.
And you think, isn't that an interesting thing, that water just destroyed everything they owned and their entire life was just turned upside down, and they would do anything for a bottle of water to drink at that moment.
Yes,
It's an interesting take when you think too much water is, powerful and
right.
destructive, and in the wrong situation, it can be life ending. But without water, that can also be the end of us. It can be,
And also that it's neutral, but it works with us to some degree, if that makes sense. So yes, it can be destructive. It carved out the Grand Canyon. But also it can be purifying and cleansing and healing in many ways. But water itself is neutral. It depends on, the context and,
When you
you
need
know,
it and how you need
right,
to use it, you know. So
right.
that kind of puts in with the discipline,
Hmm.
back to the discipline of how we restructure our eating habits and our hydrating habits to not be wasteful, to be conservative with water, not to just let it run needlessly and use it when you think about if you didn't have that water, if it just stopped, the source just stopped, what would you do? Like these people that are waiting for water to be delivered, by helicopter or whatever. It's the one thing we need to survive. We can go a long time without food, but we can't go a long time without water. So you think
Yes.
just not let the hose run incessantly and not turn the, hydrant on at the sink and, just let it run and run. Just use what you need and be thoughtful about the people that don't have it.
And this is a very shamanic context for this, right? Because we're talking about one of the elements of the planet, and we touched on the ecology and the concern around that. And so, yes, it's about, can water be a part of my life in a way where I respect it and love it, and I have some even ritual and ceremony around it? I'm grateful, I'm conscious and conscientious in terms of like how I utilize it, but recognition for others and what they have or don't have as well, that larger context.
We take things for granted that we have every day in our life, that we're going to go turn the sink on and water comes out. It's just, there's such a process to make that happen. People
Hmm.
in other countries, even today, are carrying water for miles just to have
Yes.
water. And it's not always pure water, it's just water, and if they spill it or drop it or whatever, it's vital to their existence that they walk 3 or 4 miles from their camp to get water, and just when you have it in front of you and you have it in the stores and it's available to you, you just need to say a little thank you to everything that makes
Yes.
it possible.
Um, One more thing on water, only because it's interesting. This came up this week and the past couple of weeks, even, and I think some of it has to do with what we've had going on environmentally, but with clients. And this is something that you can easily Google, and the information you'll come up with it. But it's called the 2 cup process, or something along those lines, if you do a search on it. And essentially, it's just simply filling a glass with water and then having another glass. And the one that has the water in it has like, it represents the situation as it is. And then this is an exercise around shifting things and intention, and can even be connected to manifesting. So if you have a specific intention and you are sending it into the water, then when you pour it into the second glass, essentially that one represents your desired outcome. And so you have this energy of, and so may it be. And it's about, in that in between, when you're really focusing on this intention, getting into the emotion of what that is, really feeling it on an emotional level. And then you drink the water knowing that the water has taken this intention on, and you're essentially sending the vibration into your physical being. And you can do it as often as you like, and eventually transform, basically at a cellular level, the vibration of, I want to say, who you are at that time in connection to this desired outcome. So it can seem really simple, but it can also be really powerful.
It's just something everybody can kind of look into, whatever they feel
Yes.
the need is, as we bring it up, whatever they want to research and how deep they want to go into it. Maybe
Yes.
these that we're talking to, our audience is already aware of this. But I find
Right.
it interesting, when I was a little kid, I would carry something, like 2 glasses of water to a friend and one for me. And if you watch the glasses, you'll spill it when you're walking. If it's really full and you don't watch it, it doesn't spill.
Yeah.
And how can you explain? It's part of us. We are
Oh,
mostly,
I love that.
and
Yeah.
so when you're walking with it and you don't look at it, it just flows with your body and you don't jerk and you don't spill it. And that always fascinates me. Like a waitress, when she carries a tray of glasses that are full, she doesn't hold it in front of her, watching and she would obviously spill it if she had it in front. It goes with the movement of your body, it just shows that it's so much a part, an integral part
Yes.
of our existence and our planet. And the most of the planet is water. When you look at the landmass and compared to the oceans, and our planet is the blue planet. It's covered in water. So it makes sense that this is something for everybody to research in their own time, and
Yes.
they
Yes.
need to, whatever resonates with them and whatever they can pick from this information. And that, again, I wanted to mention as we start this, and it's relatively new, the things that you and I suggest and the things that we talk about are just um, tidbits, if you will, of knowledge. They're just drops of little things that people can pick up and use if they wish to. And what we say and what we convey through our conversations is not to be taken as medical advice or anything that they would change about their own um, system or their own lifestyle unless they feel like it's right for them. We're
Yeah.
just sharing knowledge and putting like hors d'oeuvres on a plate. And if people wish to pick them up and partake, that's fine. But if not, we want to be sure that, obviously what everyone believes and thinks and, knows, these are just helpful hints, helpful informational tidbits.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And oftentimes we'll tell people, as far as what's coming through, if it's in a session or another context from me, I mean, to take it with a grain of salt and see what resonates for you. And then before you had mentioned something about your experience. And I think that's also really important. It's sort of like, nothing we're saying this is a fact or it's black and white or anything by any means, but we can speak to our experiences and yes, put the hors d'oeuvres on the table, but also from an empowering context. It's like, as this is sort of like downloaded or moving through, whatever resonates for you as truth or resonates with your intuition, those are the things to pay attention to and move forward with in some way. But it's about your experience creates your reality, so that piece
You
is important.
integrate what you need at the time,
Yes.
and
Yes.
when you read a book, you don't hang on every word. You find concepts or beliefs or things that resonate with you at the time when you're seeing it, and you may pick up something from it. But whether you integrate that into your being is your choice, and our free will gives us that capability to look and seek, and then hopefully our opinions and our experiences are helping people get what they need from it. So that's
Yes.
what I'm hoping to do anyway.
Yes, absolutely. I know you have some other high vibrational things to
Yeah, the
mention.
one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is, the where you live and what you have around you holds a lot of vibration, are things that we have, and clutter. And one of the things that is important, I think, in raising your vibration is to um, really look at what you have around you and organize things and get rid of clutter and try to keep as few things around you as you can, because they do hold a lower vibrational energy. Things, just clean your house, make sure that things are easy to navigate, try to keep it simple and basic and meet your needs, but not over acquire. So
Yes.
many I know it's especially important for me because I live in a small space and you have to be organized, but opening the windows and the curtains, the fresh air, the light, letting in the light in your home, the vibration of where you are, where you reside is important. So fresh air, um, sunshine, cool or warm, the air can come in your home and you can regulate that. but it's important, and especially if you have animals or if you're in that room, you want to even open the window just for a few minutes and let the air transfer from where we're breathing out and where we're um, spending a lot of time. And that's something I don't think a lot of people do or think about. But when you leave for the day, if you leave your animals in the home, open the windows, open the curtains so that the sun comes in, and the different time of day, they can see the sun going down. It's just important that we share this knowledge with ourselves, how we take care of our own rooms and our own things for our animals. Is you don't think they might want to look out the window and see what's going on outside, I
Right.
think it's important, and a lot of people don't think like that. They don't consider their animals, but making your home a sacred space by burning
Yes.
Palo Santo or sage and pray, doing Reiki, if you do Reiki, clearing the space of negative energy that tend to bring down our vibration. Sometimes you can go in a place and right away you feel that pull. Like if you're in a place that's negative, you can feel that draining your energy. So keep your space sacred. So when you walk through your door, you have that feeling that you're in a safe place.
And
In a,
actually, Betty, you had said to me at one point, your home is where you should feel most content. And at the time, that really resonated with me, that specific word and perspective. And I realized it could maybe seem simple or it could be like, of course, we should feel content in our home. But all of these sort of facets of making our home a sacred space is really what facilitates that. It's really what like holds us in an energy where we can rejuvenate and we can get a good night's sleep and we can feel safe with our loved ones. And I certainly in terms of clutter and things that we hold on to, sometimes that's even the thing could be associated with like the past and heavy memories, or there's so much that stuff can be imbued with. And even when we're not consciously thinking about the coat in the closet at the moment, it's still energetically taking up space for us. So a lot of times it's like, yeah, if you can simplify and get rid of things. And I can say, as an example, with where I live, our house is elevated, being in the low country, and it's maybe 4.5 feet off the ground. And so my husband has a tendency sometimes to want to put things under the house. But I basically have a rule of, nothing under the house, which he's okay with, but maybe doesn't understand in quite the way I'm feeling it. I feel like if it's under the house, I can feel the energy of the thing. And so, having that space free and clear, I feel more connected to the earth. And then I also have like a grounding mat and other things that connect me to the frequency of the earth, which is important as well. But yeah, clearing this,
really important.
yes, setting
And
it up.
the thing that you realize, if you just think everything is energy, everything is vibrating, everything is energy. So whatever is there, if it's vibrating and it's energy, it's holding on to a frequency that maybe it is right for us and maybe it isn't. And if it isn't, that thing needs to be moved, or it needs to be cleansed, or it needs to be taken out. And we just have a tendency to put everything in a closet, or put everything in the garage, or put it in the room, or and I'm finding that it really feels better to simplify and only have
Yes,
the things that you need. So that's another thing of moving forward. We can't take our things with us. When we leave
right,
the planet, there's not a moving truck putting everything where you're going, right?
right,
So they're just things. They're not really material things. We call them material things, but they're just energy that's vibrating in a different frequency. So if it doesn't suit you to have it there, or it doesn't serve you in some way, you don't need to have it there. And we think if we get rid of something, we won't. Usually, when you get rid of something, it's making space for something else that's supposed to come in your life. Maybe something that's vibrating on a higher level, like a painting,
right.
some form of art, that you put in your home that makes you feel good every time you look at it. a family picture or a picture of your pets or something like that. So you have to think of it in, you're not sacrificing anything because something else will come behind it that's more appropriate to your energy and your space. So I think that's just a way for people to look at it that have a hard time letting go of material things and sentimental things.
Yes.
Keep the things that remind you of someone, just keep one thing, and you can remember that person when you look at it, but you don't have to have everything they owned, you know.
Right. And sitting with the knowing that nothing is ours and connecting back to that, tread lightly on the earth, leave no trace. It's sort of interwoven with this concept. So, like you're saying, it may be something that we are with for a little while, or that, and it's good, right, if it brings us joy, or in terms of setting up our space in our home, having, like you said, photographs and things that have a special energy and that we love. But sometimes just that knowing and that concept of, I don't own it. It's like you said, another energy and frequency. And so as that helps to elevate your vibration, it makes sense. But when it's time to get rid of something or move on from it, or the vibration becomes heavier because of it, then that's something to look
What you
at.
need will manifest. Whatever you need that you have to use or have to have will come into your life. You'll be provided with that or you'll manifest it. So it's not like you're not going to be able to replace it or you're not going to hold on to that for any particular reason. If you let it go, then something, if you need something, it will come, into your life. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. It's just like money. People
Which is
hold,
fun.
you know, you if you let it go, more will come, right?
Yes.
And you can't think of it like that because we need to save and we need to have money, but money is energy and it's flowing just like the water, just like everything through your life. So you have to keep that momentum and that vibration. Your higher vibration attracts things of a higher vibration. So when you
Yes.
raise your vibration, the people that are in that higher frequency that have the same beliefs or the same thoughts or the same concerns or whatever will come into your life. If you're vibrating in a lower negative dimension, like the carbon-based DNA tends to do, then those are the kind of things you're gonna attract. You're going to be attracting lower vibrational entities or people or situations or whatever. So by letting go, it's like making space for something that is more in tune with you at that higher frequency. And I think we tend to look at things as trophies or tokens or whatever of our achievements or whatever. And really, when you look at how much you have, it's not about attaining and acquiring and having. It's about using and enjoying, that thing that comes into your life, using it, enjoying it, appreciating it, and being grateful for it. And then if it goes, it goes.
Right.
It just comes through your life and then it's not needed anymore. So it's a difficult concept for people in the material world in the third dimension because it is about acquiring and um, what we have and what we do and what we become, and acquire like our status or our education or whatever. It's really about attaining this higher vibration and not needing physical things. you know I mean, you'd see the Tibetan monks and they eat one meal of one food, one bowl. Their simple life, their clothing, everything. They don't have what's trending. They don't have the styles. They always dress the same. They take care of their bodies the same way. They eat mono meals, and they're the healthiest group of people on the planet, probably the happiest, because they're not caught up in competition of any having more or acquiring more or needing more, always feeling like we have to do more. If you get to a place where you find your vibration, what's right for you at this point in time with the planet, you will know when you're there. You'll know that the things that don't matter start going away. And they don't matter to you inside. You're not going to grieve them. You're not going to miss them. You're just going to let them go, you know.
Yes.
And it's
And
important.
part of this,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was going to say part of this higher vibration that we are in is really about being in the flow of giving and receiving. And this is another basic shamanic principle as well. You know, there are ways that we can block our receiving, there are ways that we can block giving. And it's just a very, if we can make it simple and basic, okay, we've got those two energies. If we can be in balance with it, like when you were mentioning money, and you know, that's another one, like you said, it can be tricky. We want to save it, which is fine. But if we're going into a mentality that's more like hoarding it, or I don't have enough, or, you know, then we're getting into a parigraha, which is a yogic principle, the
Fear,
grasping and the
fear,
feeling like,
fear of lack.
yes,
Yeah. Mhm.
yes. So, you know, that simple place of I can enjoy it. It can be as, you know, great or incredible or as simple as it's going to be. It's less about that when we're talking about the material thing and what it is, but having this deep gratitude in the moment for, you know, the money or the, you know, situation and the things that encompass it, but being okay with, like you said, when it goes, it goes. Just the give and receive. Nothing is, it has to be this way. That part I think is maybe easier to grasp than it used to be. And I'm not even sure why I'm saying that, which is interesting, but I just have kind of a feeling that that's the case. And so there's an energetic place of just feeling like we're in that balanced energy.
Well, some of the things that I in my notes that I wrote, we're talking about, you know, the water and the food, and to kind of conjunct with that, I have to think about exercise or some discipline of our body. And we need to either swim or walk or run or do yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or uh, something, you know, that you enjoy doing or that you
Yes.
can do physically. And in any discipline that keeps your body moving. You know, it can be as simple as marching in place if you can't walk or you don't have a place where you can go outside or whatever. The more you can get into nature and doing something like in a park or outside, that would even be better. But keeping your body moving, because all of these symptoms that we're going through, there's toxins that are coming out of our body. Our body's clearing, and that causes inflammation. It causes aches and pains and things that they'll be there 1 week and then the next week they're gone, and we don't think, oh gosh, that was there and now it's gone. We complain about it when we have it, but we don't realize when it's gone, oh wow, now I don't have that, you know.
Yeah.
When you're ill for a week with a flu or a cold or whatever, that's your body cleansing and dealing with an invader. And you don't think about, you're complaining about missing work and laying in bed and coughing and sneezing and feeling terrible. And you don't think about the 360 days that you had when you felt wonderful. You think about that 5 day period when you're laying in bed and you're getting that thing out of your body, right? So if you integrate something every day that you can do that detoxifies or that moves your body to keep your muscles toned and to keep the skeletal system integrated with the muscles and the tendons and everything, it can be simple. It doesn't have to be anything. But some people enjoy yoga. Some people hate it. Some people really like walking, and other people would never go out and walk. They'll do yoga all day long, right? So, whatever you find that makes you feel your best energetically, not what you think about what you should be doing. You don't want to process it in a thought. You have to feel how your body responds to it. And if it's
Right.
something you can incorporate as a discipline, and you know about that with Kundalini, you know that the breath work and the mudras and all of the things that are a part of it. And I think it's benefited you greatly, you know, to have that discipline. It makes other things easier, you know, to incorporate into your life, things that you normally don't do. Like, I'm going to donate some money to this charity. I'm going to drive by there today and stop and give them some of my money. You know, that just becomes natural, just like the things that you do with your body. You put that into your discipline, into your practice of doing something that helps others or doing something that for your neighbor, you know, stopping to see if they need something from the store, you know. Like yesterday, we had a worker here that was going out of his way, and it was a Sunday. And I kept thinking, you know, I need to give him some money. You know, he's working on Sunday. He was finishing up a job, and he has children. He has a busy job, you know, busy life. And he was working on a Sunday, and it was hot. And I just kept feeling, and so I did get up and go out and stop him before he left and give him some money. And I said, you know, it's just for gas or for lunch or something, because you're here putting in this extra time to make our lives better. You know, I want to make his life better. And it it made me feel good to do that. It would make me feel better to do that than to have someone give me the money that I gave him. So when you
Absolutely.
find that balance and you find something that makes you feel joyful and good about what you're doing, do it. Don't think about it. Don't process it. Just do what your heart feels is right. You know, if you see someone that needs something, ask them if you can help them, you know. Those are things that raise your vibration. Those are just everyday loving, be masters of kindness, you know, do kind things.
I think that's a great one to end on. We just have a couple more minutes, but yeah, that just feels like a perfect way to wrap it up. It goes back to keep it simple, right? Kindness and going with your intuition. You know, for some reason, it's coming up to me like we're kind of in a time where everything needs to be PC and said a certain way and done a certain way, and some of that is good because we're changing our perspective on things, but there's also a place where that can make us second guess ourselves, or you know, maybe we're like, oh, I'm not sure how to, whatever the situation may be. Some of that I think can create a little static. So if we can come back to feeling strong in our intuition and not even letting the mind come into whatever the scenario is, follow the love, follow the kindness, just take the action. It's coming from such a true, good, positive place that that's all you need to know.
Well, I think a
So
lot
thank
of it,
you.
you know, I may have mentioned last podcast, but um, when, if you really want to balance yourself and you really want to get yourself in a higher place, you need to go out into nature because there is no ego.
Yes.
Walk among um, the plants and the animals and really observe. It's a time where we can be one with them and with the planet and feel the rhythm or get into that vibration and think about the fact that it's all really simple and the ego is not present when you walk around. That raises your vibration and that puts you into a place where you don't have to think about anything. You know, you just become one with, watch something, watch an animal or watch a bird or, you know, just whatever, watch the leaves falling off the tree. I've been seeing that a lot with the autumn, you know, with the fall and the wind. And it's just such a beautiful thing. It takes your mind off of yourself and of your problems and the things that really don't matter. So one of the biggest things I would say to raise your vibration is just to go out and be one with this planet.
Hmm. Yes, feet on the earth, hug a tree, And like you're saying, I love that that feels like the most critical piece. There's no ego there. So it allows us to be in a space where we can be in awareness and feel the wisdom as well as the interconnection with all things. We can really get into that space of unity with the earth and with others.
The beach and hear your own music and dance in the water, dance where the sea
Yeah.
is hard, and just hear your own music and dance, and dance,
Dancing is a favorite. Yes.
feeling the energy of the waves and the minerals in the water. And you can absorb so much goodness in a short time if you let ourselves do that and just do whatever you feel. You don't have to dance any particular way, just dance with the earth, you know.
Just dance with the earth.
Mhm.
I I feel like that's the perfect spot to end on. And so I just want to share with everyone, Betty can be found at wherethelightis.net, and I'll put some other ways to get in touch with her connected to this as well. I'm, as all of you know, in Charleston, South Carolina, but I'm at pavansorona.com, and you can connect with me in person or virtually, and certainly leave us comments. Let us know what you think. And Betty's going to lead us in our closing prayer.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It's been our pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much to everyone.
So may we meet again, sit in circle, tending our hearts, cultivating our shared love and joy, supporting the ascension of our beautiful planet. Until then, our light to yours.
Aho. Thank you so much, Betty.
Thank you, Pavan.